Hello my fellow haunts, and welcome back to another modded Minecraft stream where I shall be continuing work on my base with the main goal today to move my tree farm to its final position for the base. Hello my fellow haunts, and welcome back to another modded Minecraft stream where I shall be continuing work on my base with the main goal today to move my tree farm to its final position for the base. Like with last time, I have lots to do today in this live stream, and hopefully we will get it all done. So for context, there is, let's see here, let's get going. So once again, this is all test world stuff that I have accumulated over time and implementing into this live stream world. For basic kind of backstory and what have you on my kind of thought processes and how I have kind of prepared for this world and what have you, I've been not live streaming, but I have been playing modded Minecraft for probably around 10 years now, 10 plus years. And obviously over time that has accumulated many different worlds. And this kind of streaming world here is very much an ultimate culmination and accumulation of these worlds, I would have said. And what I mean by that is that directly I have had 2 test worlds that are specific for this stream, in which I've kind of made the more technical and finer details and what have you in those worlds to figure out the base here and all of the kind of technological stuff and what have you that we'll be implementing in the base. But I have also, and kind of, I guess you could say more importantly, I'm not saying more importantly, but in combination with those worlds that I have just mentioned, I also hope to be kind of implementing and bringing back into this world kind of 2 older single player worlds that I built and made by myself a long time ago, of which you can see there's 2 screenshots of in my YouTube banner art. So I have all of the things I will need for this particular farm listed here. So I'm just going to get on with it and see what I can get done. So as people that will have watched my previous streams and know by now, and if you guessed in the titles, I am once again going to be talking about some good old ghost stories that I have found on YouTube, returning to the 2 channels that I discussed in my previous live stream from last week, Curious World and Nuke's Top 5s. Once again, the first video I will be discussing is 5 Ghost Stories from the Sea by Curious World, and I shall also be discussing, just get the title of it up here, 5 Scary Ghost Videos That Will Make You Throw Your Phone by Nuke's Top 5. So I've got plenty to talk about in this particular stream here today. And as well as the tree farm getting moved, I also am going to kind of start outlining my storage room a bit more, which will be good. Just very simple with blocks and what have you, just to kind of get it all kind of figured out and get the spaces right and what have you, because I didn't do that in the previous live stream. See what's in here. That's okay. I will actually, because I'm going to need rubber for the next stream, I will probably well, for one, I'm going to put some more rubber trees on the farm there, and because of the mob farm that I'm hopefully going to be making next stream, I actually have a bit already, that's alright then. Hopefully I'll be making a mob farm next stream. But as for the ghost story stuff, the first video I am discussing here is 5 Ghost Stories from the Sea by Curious World. Previously mentioned Curious World in my last stream, in which I talked about their video on the Byron poltergeist, which was a very good video and very creepy and interesting. And whereas that one was one kind of singular documentary discussing a particular poltergeist case, this particular video here is an anthology of a few different ghost stories, all from the sea, which, as the intro talks about in this video, talks about, let's see, do that, that's okay. Just laptop went to sleep there. The video opens up and kind of talks about how the waters of the world have given rise to a variety of stories, whether it be fiction and non-fiction, such as Moby Dick, the famous novel about a whale. Let's see, it's not what I wanted to do. Or more fiction or more true stories, being the Titanic, and in terms of paranormal stuff, there are cases such as the Flying Dutchman ghost ship story. Let's see. It's fine. Flying Dutchman ghost ship story, and things like the Queen Mary. So the first the story they discuss in their stream is simply called Carnival Conquest, which is the name of a Caribbean-based cruise ship in terms of travel. it has a capacity of just under 3,000. The cruise lengths take 2 to 9 days and is known for a few reported deaths on board the ship. See and do that. Let's check if that's right. That's fine. So that's a general little outline. That's okay. Get some stone brick as well for this. And whereas it is not known exactly as to how many people die on cruise ships each year, it is known or estimated that about 200 people die on cruises every year as an overall statistic. In terms of stories in regards to the Carnival Conquest cruise ship, there are a few interesting ghost stories that have been reported. See that. One story which takes place in cabin 6412 had a woman and her husband which were occupying it. She was looking in the mirror and heard a voice say, "You are looking beautiful tonight." She was able to quickly eliminate her husband being the cause, as he was outside on the balcony at the time with the door closed. The TV was on menu and nobody was in the hallway. She then heard it for a second time. Do that. She heard it for a second time when turning back to the mirror, and then she proceeded to tell her husband the whole story of what had just happened to her. And then there's another story in regards to the Carnival cruise, in that I think a different room where another couple were, I believe, asleep in their beds at night, and they woke up in the middle of the night only to see a shadowy figure in the hallway brandishing, or only to see a shadowy figure at the bottom of their bed brandishing some kind of weapon. Only for them to turn the lights on and then for the mysterious figure to vanish completely. And then there's another one of stewardess going into a customer's room to do something, and then them witnessing a few doors opening on their own, and then there was another story documented in the video, I believe, where then there was another story documented in the video where a steward goes into a couple's room to do a task or something like that, and I believe they see an apparition or something like that. I can't quite remember all of the details from the video in question. But basically she saw a few doors opening, and then the opening some doors and causing chaos, and she basically saw it opening some doors and then mysteriously vanishing. So overall, I would have said, in terms of to kind of bookend this kind of section, an interesting and creepy little collection of stories. Kind of interesting little collection of stories, I would have said. Again, how much of these are real, how much of them are people just making up things and what have you, because for all we know, in terms of the steward story, they could very well just be hoaxing the whole thing, just for publicity, to get more attention for the fact that this is a supposedly haunted ship in question. Where's that bit of cobblestone? Did I get it? I must have done. No, really interesting opening section, I would have said. Nothing outstanding, but very interesting and good way of starting the video, I would have said, because with public transportation and what have you, there is obviously loads of room for stories and what have you to be had and what have you. There's lots of room for stories to be had and for things to be discussed and what have you within those kind of fields and what have you of the paranormal. If you think about a popular piece of public transportation and how much history something like that has gone through, think about how many deaths there are and what have you. It's just the public transportations and things like that in general are very ripe and kind of adequate for a good ghost story overall, I would have said. But yeah, very interesting and good start to the opening of this particular video. Let's see. Okay, that scared me. Okay, and now everything's on fire. Great. That was not what I wanted. Okay. Quickly deal with this as best I can. Now I can see why the Doctor hates the Daleks so much. That was just shit. Right, okay. The tree farm's going to burn a bit, but that's okay, I guess, because that's all going to be demolished and replanted anyway, and it needs some fuel anyway. Great. Right. Okay. So the second story, as present in Ghost Stories from the Sea by Curious World, is simply called The Phantom Diver. It was put to paper by a journalist and first appeared in the 2007 Christmas edition of the Toronto Sun, and it takes place in the Caribbean. A dive boat by the name of the Wind Dancer began services of diving trips in 2007. Early on into winter season for it this year, 11 passengers and 10 crew boarded to set sail. After a dive, it is common for participants to gather round and discuss what they saw, which in turn is mainly marine life like turtles, fish and other bits and pieces of nature, such as seaweed and algae and things like that. And then it's all very routine and normal at the start of this particular story. That is until a crew member of a Canadian diver speaks out about saying if they had seen the visiting diver. Quote, "He wore a white t-shirt and a scuba tank. He waved at me. The ship's crew basically immediately took a head count, and it was determined that everybody they all immediately took a head count, and in turn were able to assess that everybody that should have been there was there, and they simply couldn't explain the mystery diver at all." And overall it's a really short and kind of to the point story, as a lot of these can be. And and overall it's a very good, very entertaining and interesting story overall, I would have said personally. Let's see what I have in here. Thing in there, right, so that's gonna have to be that. Yes. I think I will pinch this for the time being actually, and then remove this. Overall a really interesting and creepy story, I would have said, overall for the video, I would have said, because when you're going diving and what have you, and probably as a very experienced diver, you're not expecting to see or have that kind of encounter. I don't think really anybody is, but at the same time it's just a very interesting and unique kind of ghost story, I would have said overall. Let's merge that. And yeah, one I'm not really sure if I have a terrible lot to say about, but it is a fascinating and really interesting ghost story, I would have said overall. Let's see, do that. That's perfect. But yeah, absolutely very interesting and unnerving story, I would have said overall, and yeah, really enjoyed it. The third story as present in this particular video here is simply called The Palatine Light, and is an example of a historical event that eventually morphed and got turned into a myth by several people. Let's see if I actually do. Might take a bit of a long time, but that would be worth it. Did that collide with that? I don't think so. Right. Where do I have one? There we go. So the Palatine Light is an example of a historical story that eventually metamorphed and turned into a bit of myth and legend overall. So the main story is that a ship that carried German immigrants was besieged by bad luck. For example, the biggest and most disastrous kind of event that occurred within the whole series of events was that the water supply was contaminated, and it ended up killing 90 passengers and 8 crew members, including the captain of the ship. The ship in turn was also badly damaged and leaking, and in turn running low on supplies. The weather was not good and less than optimal for their travelling, so to speak, and it just got worse and worse, and eventually a third mast was cut down, or eventually the third mast got cut down, and to try and speed things up a bit, my understanding. And then to top everything off, as if they hadn't had enough bad luck already, they got struck by a blizzard and the ship eventually beached itself. And then after this point, variations in the story then occur. One in particular says that the new captain, which was I believe the first mate that took over whenever the captain passed away, and he was adamant that the ship could be fixed. But when it became apparent this could not be done and it was abandoned, leaving the passengers behind. Eventually this group managed to be rescued by locals, with another 20 perishing, and a mass grave was erected. Do that and take one more of that, and then that. And in amongst this story, the captain and crew were accused of purposely beaching the ship to try and kill the passengers for whatever reason. Considering the time period of considering the time period of this particular story, it wouldn't surprise me that if this variation of the story was true, it could very well that be the captain was motivated for racial reasons because of the times that they were in. Don't know exactly, I can't exactly talk to him. But then another version of the story Then another version of the story is that locals deliberately lured the ship to the sea, deliberately lured the ship to beach, and then to loot it and to kill those on board, and in turn setting it on fire. It is said on the anniversary of the infamous disaster, you can hear the screams of a woman who died on board, and also witness an apparition of the ship itself. Let's do that. The third story within the overall narrative, video here is about the SS Watertown faces, which is tied to one of the most famous photographs in the paranormal fields, and is very well known and highly talked about in paranormal circles. The photograph in question is of a person on a boat taking photos of waves, and in amongst the waves you can see these faces and what have you in and amongst the waves. And this great video here by Curious World gives us the backstory to this particular and quite creepy story. So it is in late 1924, and a sailing oil tanker is on a journey from California to New Orleans, and then from New Orleans to New York. At one point, 2 members of the crew were ordered to clean a cargo tank in the ship's hold, and then for whatever reason the fumes overcame them and they ultimately passed away. Let's see. The next day, one crew member reported seeing the faces of the 2 in the water. To one side of the ship. According to witnesses, they were there for around 10 seconds, and this happened for many days afterwards. In New Orleans, the captain relayed their unusual story to somebody there, I'm assuming one of their bosses or somebody that was in charge of the boats and what have you that they were using. Do that. Just give me a moment to organise. Let's see. But when relaying their unusual story to somebody whenever they had docked in New Orleans, it was suggested for the captain to try and photograph them. And upon sailing again, now to New York, they were ultimately successful in photographing these particular faces. and they ended up taking some crew member, or maybe the captain, it isn't specified as to who took the photos, but 6 photographs were taken, and then out of those 6, 5 of them ended up being blank, and the last one of the 6, I believe it is, turned out to be one such photograph that captured the faces in question, and that is what has circled the internet and has become a very famous and highly featured paranormal photograph in the worlds of the paranormal. And upon seeing the photograph and what have you, the ship's men all agreed that they looked like the dead crewmates. The original negative of the photograph was later inspected in the 1960s, and it was determined that there was no signs of tampering performed upon the image in question. A later investigation by somebody who after the point of the investigation in the 1960s, it was the original ship, the SS Watertown, was no more. It got dismantled or something like that. Again, isn't specified but is implied. Let's do that. Okay, that worked out well. After the investigation in the 1960s of the original negative of the photograph, which was which led to the determination that no evidence of tampering or what have you occurred to the photograph in question, the original ship that the photograph was taken on was at some point dismantled, and a new investigation by somebody else and what have you, who obviously didn't have the original ship anymore, but was familiar with the overall with the dimensions of the SS Watertown, was able to use their knowledge of the dimensions of the Watertown, and was able to kind of use their mathematical knowledge in this regards to basically line it up and what have you with another ship, and they basically used this ship to recreate the angular nature of how the photograph was taken, and it in turn, and the investigator here in question determined that it wasn't either determined it wasn't possible for the photograph to have happened, and its overall, what is implied in the video and what have you is that the investigator here in question implied or found that the photograph in question had no grounds in, or no, how did I word it? The investigator concluded the photograph held no value to that of evidence of the paranormal, and it's highlighted that it could have been a trick of the light or a freak wave formation. The only real question and what have you behind all of this is, if it is fake, why would the crew members and captain have faked all of this? And it's also known that the image was not widely circulated for many years. It is one particular paranormal image and what have you that I believe I have seen people say it's a fake and what have you, and fair enough if it is and what have you. Maybe at the end of the day the captain and crew members really did see something, but at the end of the day they were not. That's the second time this has happened this stream. God damn it. I need to put up a wall again. It could be that the crew members and captain did capture something on. It could be that the crew members and captain really did see something paranormal and did see the phantoms of their old friends and what have you, but they weren't able to capture them on photographs at all, and they ended up faking the photograph. It could be. There are many different stories and possibilities and what have you as to why and how all of this came about and what have you. Let's see. Not going to bother. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Try the Smiler mod by BR Guri is real. I have heard there's a lot of good horror mods in Minecraft and what have you, and that is something I will probably maybe look into at some point later on down the road for future expansions and things to include in this world, but I'm not sure really where to begin with horror mods and what have you with Minecraft. I'm aware of their existence and what have you generally. Like I know there's a Slenderman mod and everything, well it probably is, from what I have heard in the past. And at the end of the day here, I would like to kind of basically create one kind of city and what have you with lore to it and what have you, one kind of overall Minecraft city with lore and what have you to it. So maybe at some point I will be able to kind of, once I've got my kind of this world really established and up and going, and I start most likely implementing or trying to implement bits of lore into the world, I can then look into a horror mod and what have you, and then implement like a haunting or something into one of the buildings of my city. That would actually be a really cool and good idea actually to do. Set with sandstone for now. Do I need to do that? No, actually I don't think so. Just dirt. But no, that is a good idea, and I may, now I think of it, and is probably something I will look into in the future for in streaming in this world, or to add to the overall kind of lore and experience for in this world. So then, wrapping up my kind of discussion on this overall video by Curious World, Ghost Stories of the Sea, we go to somewhere called Port Aransas, which is located on the Gulf of Mexico. Do that. That's going to be, yes, get out and get that block, because I can be a bit funny like that sometimes. But basically, Port Aransas is located on the Gulf of Mexico, and the beach was known for being a fort for the Spanish, a Native American tribe, and pirates, which all resided around here and on the beach at various points in time. And it's, with that history behind it, it's been kind of built up and known as a supposedly haunted area, and has had a few stories and what have you attributed to it. The first, as highlighted by Curious World, is that a woman was camping on the beach and with her boyfriend, and she reports to have seen a bloody battle on the beach, which is, as described, involved people with darker skin and no clothes. She was seen staring into the distance and taken to a nearby motel by her boyfriend. She began screaming, and it was so much so to the point where the police were called. No evidence of wrongdoing was found on the man's part. She finally calmed down and was able to tell him what the hell had actually happened to her out there. She was convinced that, let's see, where was I on my notes? She finally calmed down enough to tell him what she had seen, and she was ultimately convinced that it was the echo of some bloody and long forgotten battle, with it being too vivid and too real in her mind. Whereas not believing her and what have you, the boyfriend ultimately was convinced by her terror, and is said not to have gone back and collected their belongings, and to have just packed up as they could and just left, if I remember the details correctly from the video. And overall, this first story and what have you is very interesting and scary, I would have said, definitely for the woman, I would have said. And it's an interesting point to note and what have you within this supposed ghost story, that she notes that the battle was taking place between what is described as people of a darker skin complexion with little to no clothing, which is very interesting and what have you, because as I mentioned at the beginning of this particular story recital and what have you, this place was known for Native Americans or American Indians. Are those the same thing? They're probably not, and I'm just being stupid. Why did I say that? But it's known for those people to have resided on the beach. So the fact that the skin complexion of the figures she had seen as mentioned as being darker is an interesting point and detail of note and what have you, I would have said, because of the history of this place and what is documented in its history. And then another story is a much shorter one. It's a story of an excited young boy in period clothing running down the beach to play in the sand, only to disappear, and only to reappear 30 minutes later, floating in the water, again vanishing if anybody tried to rescue them. Which is a very creepy story and what have you overall, and it does remind me of a couple television ghost stories and what have you that I have seen a little bit. There was a particularly good episode of a not very well known TV series from the 1990s simply called Ghosts, which was it that one? I might be thinking of a different one, but there's one particular good World War I ghost story present in that, which was about the Dippy raid, and there was another interesting episode in that called 3 Miles Up, which was a ghost story involving a canal boat, which was a television series that I discussed in a documentary movie I made quite a few years ago now, or well, not quite a few years ago, a couple years ago now, called Barnabas Lives, which was about unavailable supernatural horror shows in that supernatural horror shows that are not widely available to the public, so to speak, like they haven't been released on physical media or anything like that, and they're not very easy to come by in good quality. You just kind of have to go to the internet and find them there in low quality, basically. But yeah, there was that. Overall, a very interesting video, I would have said, by Curious World, and it's one that I've seen a couple times now, and I have seen that they have uploaded a couple more ghost stories and what have you to do with the sea, a couple sequels to this video in question, so it will probably be good to check out those two at some point, and I believe those ones are longer than this one as well, which is interesting. Possibly longer stories, or more just stories in general to be had. Yeah, another really interesting and good video by Curious World overall. So I think whilst that chops down, I'm going to make one of the final components I need for my tree farm here, which is a sludge generator, or a sludge boiler rather. I already have a sludge generator with the harvester. See, do I have any more tin? I do, just about. Let's see here. Because obviously with a sludge boiler and what have you, I can get many more blocks and what have you in this world, even though they're not very common blocks and what have you by this device. They will be useful to have in this world. Like, it's a very quick and easy way for me to get mycelium in this world, which is something I would like. Recently in my test world, and as seen in my my most recent short that I uploaded day before yesterday. I have been working more on my kind of train line system and what have you that I will be implementing within this world and what have you. And most recently I have been focusing on a train station, which will likely be in the next YouTube shorts I upload. See here, then that's that. Okay, it's fine. But mention this with the mycelium and what have you, because I've kind of implemented computers and a whole kind of networking cable and what have you, just to kind of add to the kind of feel of the train station and the world a bit and what have you. And directly outside of the train station and what have you, I have kind of a power pylon, and that kind of connects into the train station, giving it power and what have you. Can I do that? No, I cannot. Fiddlesticks. That's okay then, but I'm pretty much there, right. And underneath that pylon and what have you, that connects to the station and what have you, there is lots of grass patches and there's a bit of grass underneath it. And I decided to add a few blocks of mycelium just kind of sprinkled in there and what have you, so it kind of looks like some sparks came out of it, and it ended up see, and it ended up burning the ground or kind of singeing it and what have you. So that build is coming along quite well. I would have said hello. I would have said, just getting lava here quickly, if I can find it. Probably won't be able to find it quickly through here. But yeah, happy with how that build is going and what have you. Best viewers on streamboo.com, remove the space. I've no idea what that is, but thank you very much for sharing that and what have you to the stream. Okay, there's Daleks. Hello, Daleks. But maybe that's something for me to look into. Let's see. Around here. What was that I just picked up? Rotten flesh, okay. And for people tuning in, this is a keep inventory and mob griefing off world, as you may or may not have noticed already. Let's see here, just a few more little things I need to gather, and then I'll be able to progress onwards to the last and kind of main discussionary bit that I want to talk about in this live stream, which is Nuke's Top 5 video. C pinch you and you. Doesn't mean to do that. I have any more chests on me? No, I do not. Fiddlesticks. Right. That's all full of cobble. Do this one here. Give me 1 second and I'll just sort this out quickly, and then I'll be able to progress onto the last section of this stream. I got that as well, excellent. So yes, get a little more food and then I'll be ready for the last kind of section of this stream here. That. Okay, that'll be fine. So because I haven't done stream highlights before on this channel and what have you, I've decided that for the last section of this video or this live stream and what have you, to record my kind of discussion and what have you on this last little section of the video. So since I haven't done streaming highlights before on this channel, I've decided that I'm going to record this last little section of this live stream and edit it down into stream highlights and upload that eventually. So this video in question that I'll be discussing is Nuke's Top 5s. 5 scary ghost videos that will make you throw your phone. Let's see, just hydrate once more and I should be ready to go. Right. Since there's a delay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and recording. Hello fellow viewer, the bit you are watching here today is an edited section from a recent city/space building livestream of mine, being the 8th on the channel. For new people here, I'm a Minecraft city builder, designer and streamer that enjoys discussing ghost stories and things to do with the paranormal and general ghost videos on YouTube. Going back to an upload on the 9th of February 2021 is what I will be discussing. 5 scary ghost videos that will make you throw your phone by Nuke's Top 5. So the first of 5 videos in So for the first of 5 sections in this Nuke's Top 5 video is called Hiding in the Closet. Very fitting time to talk about this in this month of June. Basic premise to this clip is that a person by the name of Seth has recently moved into a house and has started experiencing paranormal occurrences. They created a YouTube channel in order to document and capture They created a YouTube channel in order to try and document what has been going on, and in their introductory video, they report seeing a figure standing in a doorway mid-recording and hearing noises. The latter are captured, but the former is not because of the camera angle the video itself is filmed like, as it is just like a web camera, hi, hello YouTube kind of type of video with the web camera, as it's kind of one of those YouTube videos with the camera pointed at the recorder, kind of an old YouTube style kind of vlog, I guess you could say, as this is an old school video, as I will get into. The roommate in question, who is present during the recording, also ends up seeing whatever Steph sees in the doorway also. See here, just get this all sorted and what have you for me. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I need a wrench as well, great. So in a second clip presented in the story of Steph within this video, the recorder documents how her dog did not come visit, and so in a second clip presented in the story of Steph within this video, the recorder documents how her dog did not come back to greet her after she was away for a bit on an outing, as they normally do. And the recording in question shows the dog in question sniffing a basement door, which is unsettling for Steph, as the dog always greets her and what have you, and it is highly unusual that it isn't greeting her at all. And this was prefaced by Nuke saying that Steph feels that the basement in question is the most haunted area of their home. And this bit here in question was prefaced by Nuke saying that Steph feels that the basement in question is the most haunted part of her home. And I don't have any more tin. Oh, or do I? Yes, I have more tin. And then after this dog incident in question, she sets up a camera down there, which is pointing, and then after this dog incident she sets up a camera down there pointing it at her basement closet door the dog was curious about. And then after recording for many hours and what have you, and capturing absolutely nothing, a third clip as presented in Nuke's video and what have you. Let's see. A third clip presented in Nuke's video, Steph is... In a third clip, a friend of Steph, Reese, is checking her phone. So the camera in the basement doesn't capture anything for several hours and what have you. doesn't capture anything in the basement for several hours. However, eventually it does capture something. In a third clip as presented by Nuke, a friend of Steph, Reese, is checking her phone when the door opens on its own. And what's interesting about this particular clip and what have you is that you can see, you cannot see any string at all and what have you that is connected to the basement door or anything like that. That's all a bit wrong, isn't it? There we go. Let's see. And overall, I would have said this is a very interesting and creepy clip to open up the video. The concluding clip in the story is another one of Steph taking a video of another friend for her roommate, with them playing, with the person being filmed playing some kind of drum hero game. And it's quite low quality video, but basically at one point the camera goes to the open closet door, as it does a couple times in this video clip shown, and in one of the times it pans round to the open doors and what have you, or pans around to the open door. The at one point when it pans round to the open door and what have you, there is a apparition seen in the shot and what have you. See, let's actually make it, yeah, no, that doesn't really matter, does it? Do that, that. So the concluding clip in this story is one of Steph taking a video of another friend for her roommate, with them playing a type of drum hero game. The closet door is open, and upon one pan of it, there is an apparition as seen. And upon paying attention to the video presented here and what have you, it is obvious that there isn't any editing, at least from what I can see. There's no like cuts in the video and what have you, and Nuke presents it with no cuts and what have you clearly. And mainly because of the quality of the video being pretty consistent throughout and what have you, I would say this is a pretty convincing and creepy clip, I would have said. I'm gonna need that for that, aren't I? That's fine. So right, I'll figure that out. And for people and what have you that may be saying, oh, she faked it, it's digital stuff and what have you, digital manipulation. The interesting thing that I find about this video and what have you is that it was the video in question here, or clips in question, were recorded over a decade ago, as per Nuke's video, with them. For the people saying that, oh, it could be digitally edited and what have you, the interesting thing that I find about this clip and what have you